Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ. I'm a bookworm, I'm a writer. I love books in the publishing industry and I talk about all of these things often. Today, right on time because the movie comes out tomorrow, I wanted to talk about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have so many feelings about this book. So many complicated feelings about this book. So, I'm going to talk openly. There will be spoilers. But before you go away, if you haven't seen the movie yet or the book or, I am fully expecting the movie to be very, very accurate to the book. I mean, some things from the trailers looked like they had added things, but it didn't look like they had taken anything away. I'm curious how they're going to do the pacing, but without further ado, let's talk about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because I have thoughts, I have feelings, and I have emotions, so let's get into it. Before we get too far into this, I have a note from editing JJ. I started saying Cornelius instead of Coriolanus, and those names are very similar and my brain kept getting confused, so my apologies. Please carry on and enjoy. It was almost a half-hour long video and I was not about to go refilm the whole thing, so sorry about that. Alright, now you know spoilers are coming no matter what because oh gosh. Okay, so we follow young Coriolanus Snow, who we know from the Hunger Games as President Snow. We know him as this kill or be killed dictator who is ruling Panem and keeping the districts in line, and he is a tyrant, right? He is. We all know that. He knows that even. He is cruel, he is cunning, he is brilliant, and terrifying. He's a very terrifying character. And getting his backstory, how he became the man we know as President Snow, how he became this ruling, clever, don't trust anyone, kill at the first sign of trouble, no second chances kind of guy. I was so excited to get that insight, and I was not disappointed. I mean, this book is chunky. I read it all over vacation in a week, which is, I was impressed by myself. I was surprised by myself, actually, that I was able to do that. But this is all the things that we love most about the dystopian genre, okay? So dystopian books at their core are designed to call out a truth of humanity and put it into perspective in a way that we, the reader, cannot ignore. We see that with the Hunger Games, where the core message and the core themes, the core debate even, if you remember back in the craze of the Hunger Games, right, we saw Team Peeta and Team Gale, and a lot of people took that as, oh, which boy is more cute? No, that wasn't the point of the love triangle. The love triangle was Katniss trying to decide which ideals she would be okay living with herself with for the rest of her life, right? That is the debate. It wasn't about Peeta or Gale. It was about the ideals and the belief systems that they represented. Peeta being all that is good and kind and loving, the kind of person who would take whatever extra he had and give it to the girl who was sitting in the mud with the pigs, right? That is Peeta. Gale was a revolutionary. So on one hand, we have peace and quiet and joy and care. And on this side, we have care, but the desire to fight, to change, to kill if you have to. Gale is the survival instinct, and Peeta is what you do once you've survived. Okay? This was the debate that we see with Katniss. this is also the main core of the entire book, is this book, right? This book was asking the question of, what is humanity? Over and over and over, we see Dr. Gall ask the question, what is the point of the Hunger Games? What is the purpose of them? Why do we have them? And as long as you understand the actual purpose behind them, they're not just a reminder. I mean, that's what they say, but it's not just a reminder of the war and then a punishment for rising up against the people in charge. The reminder of the Hunger Games and the importance of it is a statement on humanity. And that statement is that humans, left to their own devices, will always turn violent against one another, right? This is a theme that Coriolanus has seen his entire life, whether that was the guy chopping off the leg of the maid so that he could feed his family with cannibalism, whether that was his continuous effort to stay relevant so that his family didn't sink into oblivion. Because if he lost his social standing as a Snow, if that name suddenly meant nothing, then they really had nothing left. They had each other, but they couldn't feed each other. They couldn't take care of the grandmam. They couldn't, without the notoriety and the supposed expectation that he allowed others to just linger in and believe and act on, right? Without that, they had nothing. And so he clawed his way to hold on to that, no matter the cost, no matter what it meant, no matter what he had to do, because that meant that he had everything that still mattered. And that is so intricate to his character, right? It's so important that you understand that about him, because we see that forever. The rest of the books, the rest of the series, that is who he is, right? His status, his securing a future, he says it's to protect his family. It's not. It's because if he loses that, he has nothing, right? So that's theme number one. Humanity, as he has experienced it, is desperate, and a human in desperate measures will do anything to survive, no matter what. That's number one. Number two is that we see the juxtaposition then of Lucy Gray Baird. And Lucy, who has done whatever it takes to survive, no matter what, who has sung for her supper, she has performed, she has lied, manipulated, cheated her way to stay on this planet another day. And she does it all with a smile and grace and a charm that mimics and reflects exactly what Cornelius Snow does. So he sees in himself, he sees what she does and he sees himself in it. And that's why I think he fell in love with her. He didn't fall in love with her. He didn't even know her. He fell in love with the version of her that she presented so that he would keep her alive and fight for her. And more, he fell in love with the aspects of himself that she showed him. It's brilliant writing. It's literary writing, and it's a revelation of the human nature, right? There's a theory that what we love about the world is what reminds us of us, right? We're more likely to gravitate toward the people who think and act and believe the same way as we do. We're more likely to enjoy interacting with people who share our same habits, our same hobbies, our same interests, our same belief systems. And all of that comes back down to this, where they could never have made it as a couple. They never could have, had they actually run away together, right? Had they actually done that, we see it. We see exactly how he interacted with her at the end, where the thought of him, like at first he was like, this is kind of nice, we could be totally free. But then as soon as he's realizing like, oh, I actually have to get my hands dirty, to survive. Because even all of the times, he never kills with his hands. Not once. Right? He beats a guy to death. He beats a guy to death with a plank, with a stick, but he never once actually has to feel the life leave somebody. Every other time he shoots them from a distance, or he injures them, maims them, but he never, that's the only scuffle in the arena when he kills Bobbin. That's the only scuffle that he actually has to get his hands dirty with, and that is crazy. But he never has to get his hands dirty, right? Not once, until he's trying to figure out how to live off the land with Lucy Gray, and he has to dig for worms. And he realizes immediately that he's bad at it, because she catches 2 fish and he catches none, right? So that's number one. He is not built for survival off the land. And he figures that out really quickly. He knows that immediately. And as soon as he has that out, he takes it. Partially because she cannot manipulate him outside of the structures of society. That's part of it. The other part of it is she is taking him away from everything that he knows as his identity. If he runs with her, if he flees with her, everything that makes him important in the world, which is the only thing he has ever cared about, is gone. Right? He would have to kill the old Cornelius Snow to live with her, and he would resent her forever if he did that. Meanwhile, Lucy Gray. Let's talk about her for a second. Lucy Gray, singer, songwriter, entertainer, actress, charmer. She gets the whole nation to fall in love with her. And the only person who actually knows her, I think, is her ex, who we are set up to hate because Cornelius hates him, right? But he's the only one who knew her. He is. He's truly the only one who knew her. And this is because she was herself around him. Or possibly she tried to manipulate him too, because she did whatever it took to survive. Right? At whatever the cost to the people around her, except for the cubby. But even that, she was ready to leave them too. She was ready to, or she said she was. Right, so there's a lot of manipulation going on here between her character and the world, her character and Cornelius, and because of her character and Cornelius's manipulation with each other, and the cat and mouse game they're playing with each other of who's going to make the first move to being who we really are, she's also manipulating the reader. You, as the reader, as the viewer, you are not unimpacted by that manipulation. And it's a brilliant use of that sort of narrative power. Okay, so things about this book. First of all, if you look at Goodreads, I gave it 4 stars, and I loved it. I am thinking about it, I'm analyzing it, I'm drawn in by the literary genius of this book. It's maddening because of the open end of not knowing what happens to Lucy Gray Baird, right? We don't know if she survives. We don't know if she dies. We don't know if she makes it back to 12. We don't know. And that's never answered because, in theory, Cornelius never checks up on it. I'm personally hopeful that is leaving space for a sequel where we see him as head game maker or somebody else around him, where we're not in his perspective anymore, but we're following the world in his internship and apprenticeship under Dr. Gall. I think that would be really interesting to have a continuation of this story because the world building is so deep and the impact of it is so strong, right? So I think that would be really interesting. Plus, I think if we got to see even just like following Maud Ivory, right? If we got to follow Maud Ivory through the aftermath, that could also be really interesting. What happened in 12 after he was gone? What happened in 12 that made it the district that we see at the beginning of the Hunger Games, where there's the electric fence stopping people from wandering off into the woods? Not that it's ever turned on, but it's there. What we see in the relationship and the characterization between how Katniss interacts with the world and how Lucy Gray interacts with the world, and how Cornelius Snow must have been panicking when they suddenly had another district tribute from 12 who was capturing the attention of the world the same way that Lucy Gray did, right? And then to go on and be a victor the same way that Lucy Gray did. To have another love story even. Like, there's so many brilliant writing parallels between the two. And I'm in awe of that. I'm completely, totally in awe of the way that Suzanne Collins put this together, and all of the Easter eggs that she did were, and it didn't even feel heavy-handed or cheesy, right? But the way that she used the music for the first one, and it makes me wonder, I wish I could sit down and ask her if she knew she would write this book, and she knew about Arlo and the Hanging Tree, and she knew where that song came from when she wrote the lyrics the first time. I'm so curious, because we've all kind of, I mean, ever since the first Hunger Games books, right? Whenever that was a huge thing, there was a whole lot of curiosity, at least in me, of, okay, what was the story behind that song? Because it's a song that tells a story, and there's definitely something there. And so many little things got explained in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Whether that was the origin of the Hanging Tree, whether that was why in Catching Fire the Capitol still had functional Jabberjays, right? Whether that was why Cornelius Snow hates the Mockingjay so much. Whether that was how everything came to be about Panem, and why Cornelius Snow, as the leader of Panem, like how he even ended up in the position that he got to be president, right? There's so many things. And I actually genuinely want to now go back and reread Mockingjay, because we see Tigress again. In the twisted Capitol version of Tigress, we see her again, and I want to see her in her future, where she's at, because she was helping them. And I would love to see the falling out that happened between Cornelius Snow and Tigress to make that come to fruition. So there's a lot of mystery still open. There's a lot of open-ended nature to this book. There's still places that can be answered, but I wouldn't call them plot holes. I would just call them openings, right? There's avenues that can be walked if Suzanne chooses to walk them. But I also am in awe of how she wrote the books, had such a huge success, had all of the movies, and then disappeared for 10 years, just to come back with an absolute banger. Right, another one that's gripping the world as tightly as it did, and possibly revitalizing the dystopian genre. Because that's what she's doing again. She's brilliant at it. At the comparison between war games, game shows, and the absolute gluttony of humanity. I would love to do actually a study on, or read a study on, so if any of you write this paper, please send it to me, of the 7 deadly sins as emphasized by the Capitol in the Hunger Games and in Panem. I think that would be really interesting to look into and pay attention to, because we have gluttony, we have lust with Finnick, we have pride, we have envy, we have all of the things that make humanity depraved, right? All of that is as much on display in the capital as it is in the games. And so I'd be really curious to have that all analyzed really, really effectively and deeply. But this turned into quite the video, quite the analysis. So overall, final thoughts. I loved this book. I loved it. I was gripped by it. I read every night way too late. I stayed up way too late reading, and I haven't done that in a really, really, really long time. I have not devoured a book like this in ages, and so I was props. So many, like, hats off. If I was wearing a hat, I would take it off, right? Because she's brilliant at what she does. This book especially is literary genius. In so many ways, both between calling on old poems and old songs like Wordsworth, right? And classic folk music, to the combination of what we know of Panem and the juxtaposition between the two, and the fact that she's able to write a standalone story like this that still adds so much depth and history to the world that we know so well without contradicting anything that we know so well and that we love so much. Yeah, I'm in awe. I'm a little bit mad because of the ending. It felt a little bit abrupt to me, but that was also because the rest of the book felt like so much exposition. But it was so beautifully done, and I was in awe the whole time of her storytelling that I'm not that mad, right? Like, I'm frustrated that we don't have answers, but it's not enough to make me that mad at the book. Although I would say it had a pretty slow start, so fight through all of those cabbage soup scenes and then you'll be okay. Once everything picks up with the mentoring, the book really takes off. Although I would say that the cabbage soup scenes are important because they do establish a baseline understanding of Cornelius's mentality and his mindset and where he's coming from. There was just a lot of Cornelius Snow eating soup. That was cabbage. Lots of emphasis on food and the shortage of food. Lots of emphasis on fashion, in the way that the Hunger Games have always done that. I mean, it's a huge part of Panem. The lack of food, the height of fashion, the opulence of the capital when it is gifting out what it has to the people that it deems worthy of those gifts. Yeah. Anyway, overall, it was maddening, but also I loved it so much. I would call it literary genius just because of the parallel storylines and the juxtaposition between what is right, what is wrong, two worldviews fighting for power and dominance and fruition, I guess, of everybody is inherently bad and everyone is inherently good, and we all know when we've crossed that line, versus left to our own devices, we will always cross that line. It's brilliant. It's brilliant writing. So, I am so excited to go see the movie. I hope that you are also as excited to go see the movie as I am. It's just so good. Final thought. Part of what I love so much about this book is that it's unclear who the songbird is and who the snake is. Because Lucy Gray Baird is connected to both throughout the whole book. But so is Cornelius Snow. The number of times that we see him singing, that we see him performing on cue, that we see him saying the right words at the right time, and manipulating people's emotions the way that these songbirds in this book do. And then we also see him being cunning and sneaky and clever, all traits associated with snakes. Same with Lucy Gray. She is a singer, she's a performer, she loves the mockingjays, she loves the jabberjays for what they do, but she also uses snakes. She is cunning, she is manipulative, she is clever. So they're both of these, and I love that the title is plural. That it's not just the Ballad of the Songbird and the Snake, but it's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because they are both, which is it's so clever. Anyway, I'm in awe, like I've said before. It's brilliant writing, it's brilliant storytelling, it's literary, and it's compelling, and it's beautiful dystopian fiction for all of the best parts of the genre. The only thing I'm mad about is that I didn't know who to root for, and I didn't love either of the characters. I didn't want Lucy Gray to win. I didn't want Cornelius to win, but I knew he would. But he didn't win the way I thought he would. So like I was pulled along on the ride. The ending did feel abrupt, like I said, but overall, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of this book. So you can go read my full review on Goodreads that explains all of the things that I was conflicted about a little bit more. But anyway, there you go. There's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. There's my review on it. Did you agree? Did you not agree? Do you want there to be a sequel? A secondary prequel to the series, if you will? Because I think that would be pretty cool. I think that'd be pretty fun. So let me know. Let me know your thoughts. And until next time, happy reading, happy writing. I will see you then. Don't forget to check out my merch shop. I have all sorts of fun things for writers, for book lovers, for authors trying to market their books. I have all of that and all sorts of different things on my merch shop. Also, if you like this video and you want to fund my book buying habit, please consider sending in a donation on my Ko-fi account. There's a link down below. I am so glad that you've joined me here, and I can't wait to see where we go together. Until next time, I'll see you then. Bye!